Yeah, perfect. We'll do that.
Perfect. Right, okay. So gonna do 5.
Why do
What's
flat
that?
earthers not commit to a map anymore?
Why
I've never
somebody?
committed to a map.
Why would you commit to
It's about
something that you
what
can't verify yourself?
Is wrong with the
completely?
globe? Yeah.
Why won't you commit to a map? I just don't understand. It seems to me that you just want to run away from flat
Because we
Earth.
haven't seen the whole Earth.
Why
None of us.
would
None
you
of us
commit
have been
to
high
something that you
enough to see
can't
the whole
verify
Earth.
yourself?
No, I just want to
Yeah.
understand why you reject the flat Earth map.
Because we have not seen the whole thing in one go. We don't know.
We're not fundamentalist zealots, Brenda.
But you
that's not
have a model
zealotry.
that we can poke holes in. So
I accept maps
that's what we do.
for a city that I haven't been to. I accept the map. What are you
And
talking about?
Yes, but
That's
you
not
can
what we're
actually go
talking
there
about,
at some
Brenda.
stage. We can't go to space.
That is what I'm talking about. I'm
We're
talking
not-
about maps. I'm talking about maps.
What
Why
do you
won't
do whenever
flat
you
Earth
accept those maps?
Why won't flat Earth accept a map?
We don't know what it looks like.
Well,
Why
told us
don't
3
you?
times.
Why
Why would
don't
we
you?
accept something that we can't verify?
We've never been high enough to see the whole thing. Very
No,
simple.
You don't have to see the whole thing to make a map.
Yes.
No, you
Yeah.
don't.
And if I go to
As
Paris,
true.
To us, that's what we want. Yes, that's you're asking
No,
us
you don't have to
what
see
we
the whole thing to make a
think
map
and what
of something.
We're
that's
saying
you.
that we do. You asked
That's
us
you,
why.
Brenda.
We're saying
You're
that
asking
we
us
do
how
need it.
we think and feel. So don't tell
Right.
us what we should or shouldn't need.
Why?
Because
You
you're
don't need to see
asking
the
us
whole.
the question.
You don't need to see the whole Earth to make a map of.
That's fine for you, Brenda.
Well, it's not hard
You
to
have
make a
accepted
map.
a model without seeing the whole thing. That's
No,
fine
I have
for
seen the whole
you.
thing, but so I just don't
No, you've never been
understand
to
why you
space. You've never
reject the
seen the whole
map.
thing. You fucking liar.
I just want to know why you reject the flat Earth.
I told you why.
The same reason I reject anything else. I cannot verify it myself.
Just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean asking the question another 50 times it's going to
Well, it doesn't
change.
make
It's not
any
going to
sense. It
change.
doesn't make any sense because you use
Okay,
maps
that's
of
fine.
places
I'm
you
okay
haven't
with
been
it
You
not
to.
can't
making
make
any
sense out of
to
it.
you.
That's your
You use
problem.
maps. You use maps that you haven't for places you
Okay,
haven't
everyone,
been
let's
to before.
de-escalate this a little bit, shall we?
Brenda, listen. If you go to Mexico City and have a map, you can drive around, follow the map, and verify it's accurate. Now, if
There
you
you
show
go.
me a map that tells me that Johannesburg is 15,000 kilometres west of Perth, I can't verify that.
Okay, could I jump in, FE Evangelist? There's
Sure,
quite
go.
an easy way to verify that. You jump on a flight, you turn the GPS on your phone on, and you track the distance.
And I
You
trust the
can-
GPS.
You access your
Everybody else
account.
Yeah,
You
they
have
don't
to
have
trust
to
the
do
I
that.
can't
GPS.
hear him.
Time and no
Hold on.
responsibility.
I mean,
yeah,
but you
sure.
can also check your GPS versus other equipment. For example, you can put your GPS in the car, and you can drive a specific distance with that same app using the same GPS. And you can drive a distance
You can't
and check the
verify one
veracity.
tool by using another tool like that.
Yes,
That's not how that works.
that's how
That's
you
exactly
verify.
how we verify tools. We check against multiple tools that do the same
Right.
job.
Then you're
and if
checking
they all reach
faulty
the same
sources because
conclusion-
they were all made by men. That's not how that works.
That
You're
is
checking
how
a
that
fault- a
works. That's how
source
tools
by a
work.
faulty source.
If in that case, how do you measure anything? Do you trust your tape measure? Do you trust a ruler? How do
Yes,
you measure
absolutely.
anything? You don't trust
Whoever I'm
anything.
working
trust
with, I
anything.
make sure they agree with my standard. And if they don't, we use something else. That's how you do it. What I'm saying is I reject your standard. Whether you hold up a globe or hold up a flat earth map, I'm telling you I reject your standard. She asked the question, that's the answer. I reject it.
Why?
Okay, so if you reject scientific tools that we use to measure things, that's on you.
The map's not scientific.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Planet
Yeah.
doesn't reject
That is
those
on
are
me.
scientific. Those are scientific tools. Yeah, you simply reject science.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
you're rejecting
fine.
science.
I reject what you claim to be science. It's not actual science.
Yep.
But I'm okay with that.
Hey, that's cool. That's okay. So if you want to reject science and the tools we use to verify things, that's on you.
Right, exactly. Yes, that is
Yeah,
on
you
me.
just said that.
But I wasn't claiming it for
So
anyone else.
that makes
I didn't
you
say
an
that I
irrational
was.
person.
Absolutely.
Well, that's fine. I'm okay with you having that opinion. That doesn't hurt me.
No, that's objectively
It
verifiable.
seems like it very personally hurts you that I think this way, and I don't know why.
No, not at all. I mean, people are free to think unicorns exist if they like. Doesn't mean it's reality.
Absolutely.
That's our argument.
Yes, you reject
Yeah, well, I mean,
reality.
that's your argument in a nutshell. You want to reject science and believe
Yes,
what you
that
want
is
to
my
believe.
argument. If you want to
That's not a
believe a
pathway
Like
to
sphere,
truth.
rejecting that a boy
somebody
has a
wants to believe in
penis.
unicorns,
Like that
go
reality.
ahead. I don't believe in
Yeah,
unicorns.
that's a bit of
I
science we'll
reject
reject.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll just
I mean, it
reject that
depends if you're
science.
trying to
But
understand
I'll
what is
Ups,
keep
down,
the
objectively
boys or
bloke
possible, or
girls.
if you just want to reject
Yeah.
things that don't
Yeah, that's okay to reject.
apply to your paradigm.
She's such a hypocrite. My God.
Maps aren't science, mate. Like, the fact that I don't accept a picture on a piece of paper or a ball spinning around on an axis that you show me doesn't make me a science denier.
Yeah,
No,
it
it's as
actually
stupid
does.
as saying, "Oh, you don't believe in Mickey Mouse because he's on paper and moves around on the TV." Like that's retarded.
Yeah, that's not
So
what
you're
Anybody
we're
who
talking
thinks
about.
that
you don't
way is
believe in
purposely
maps,
stopping their
FE
brain from
evangelist.
working properly. You're telling your
Ju-
brain to
ju-
not
just-
do its job if you think that you can
just
just
to-
point to a picture and say, "Believe it because I said it's true." That's retarded.
Just to clarify, FE evangelist, you don't believe in maps.
No.
Believe in
You
maps.
use it,
Maps
like I
exist.
said, I don't have to believe anything. As I said, I can drive around a foreign city, and the map will either prove itself or disprove itself. But if you show me a globe or an AE map or whatever other representation of this place we live, and tell me that's what it is, I have no way. I have no way of verifying what you put in
You
front
do
of
have
me.
a way.
Therefore,
You do have a way.
really, do
Yeah.
explain. What's the way I can do it, Brenda?
You can go there
I can go where?
to whatever the other place is that you're saying you don't
But that
accept
does
the
not.
evidence for.
That
Out of
okay,
space.
I'll stay calm.
So he
That
can go
does
somewhere
not.
that allows him to see the entire Earth at one time. He's capable of doing that because
No,
that's what you would
that's
need
not
to
what
verify it.
That-
You'd
No,
be
that's
not
have to
what
see
you
the
would
whole
need.
Earth
You
all at
don't
once
need-
to verify
You
if the
can
map is
verify it by
accurate.
mapping the whole Earth again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could retrace every inch of the entire Earth. Sure,
Yes,
if
yes.
you want to spend your life doing that to
Well-
verify the map, go ahead. I would rather spend my time in a better place, and so I say instead of doing that, I'll just reject the map until I know it's true.
Well, the
Correct.
claim was
Because
that
it
the
doesn't
claim-
affect my life one way or the other anyway.
That's right.
The-
I don't
the
need it to
claim-
be true. I don't need to
problem
cling
with
to a
that
map
Exactly.
and live my
Claim
life
was-
happily.
The claim was that you
It
had no way of
matters
verifying.
to their
and you
lives,
do.
though, for some reason.
Absolutely.
No,
The claim
that is not a
was-
way to verify it.
The claim
You have
was
nothing that shows that you can travel the entire Earth, one human being, within their lifetime.
You can
In fact,
go-
no human being has ever done it.
you can go to different places. That
It's
are on the
literally
map to
impossible.
show. It's not impossible to go to
It's-
another city or country.
It is literally impossible for one human being to walk every inch of the Earth himself within his lifetime.
Right. It's not impossible
It is
for you to
impossible.
go to a different country. It's
I
not
agree.
impossible.
I agree completely with that statement.
Okay,
which is
so you
why
can't
the
verify it
level of
yourself,
proof,
just like I
the
said.
level of proof that you require for something to be real to you is impossible to achieve. So
That's
you're actually
right. So I
creating.
reject it.
you're
I don't
creating
need
an-
the map
an-
to
an
be real for me to
impossible-
live my life happily. You asked me why. I'm
In that
telling you
case,
why. I
just
can't
reject
verify it.
everything in your life.
I can reject whatever I want.
Yes,
Absolutely.
you can
Why
live.
does it
That's how you
bother
you
want
can
to
live
live.
in
you if I
That's not a
ignorance.
reject
pathway
it?
to
You
Yeah.
truth,
can
is it?
live in ignorance.
We're under no compulsion to accept what you claim to be the
Yeah,
case.
nobody says
We
that-
can we can set our own standard of
Exactly.
proof.
I
You-
agree
you
that we have
actually
different
quite
ideas of
literally
what's
can, but
important and what's not
I can
important.
understand that is no pathway to actually knowing where we live.
And that's fine if you think that.
According
I'm
to
not
you.
concerned about it.
No, that's objectively provable. If you don't believe a
Like
map,
I said,
if
that's
you don't
fine if you
believe the
think that. I'm
veracity of a
okay
map
with
without
that.
personally verifying it yourself, you're going to know virtually nothing in this world. If you don't trust anybody's prior research
I'm
or prior
okay with
learning on
that.
any subject, you're going to live your life not understanding anything.
I'm okay with that assessment. If that's your assessment, then go ahead and live with that assessment. I'm fine with that.
Then there is absolutely no point in having a conversation with you.
Fantastic. I agree. You don't have to have any conversation with you. I will not try to force you.
No, it's not about forcing. It's about having an
And they try
intellectual
to force
discussion on
us.
a topic. But
Right,
if you reject
but we
every
clearly
that you
disagree
haven't
on the
verified
standard, right?
yourself,
This is something I've brought up repeatedly. We
and
seem
you
to disagree on the
with the entire
standard.
scientific
That's
community.
okay.
So don't invoke science when you're trying to prove any of your theories.
They're
Cartography is
invoking,
not
I'm not making an
science.
attempt to prove any of my theories.
they're invoking truth.
Cartography is not science. What are you talking about?
Yes, it is.
It uses a scientific
Oh, it's
method.
not.
Yes, cartography is science.
Cartography.
Wait,
Cartography.
did I
Cartography.
just hear that it uses the scientific method?
What would be your independent variable when you're doing
Oh,
it.
here we go. We've got one in Nathan.
Oh, here we go. There we go. Well, so
Nathan,
once
here we
again,
go.
you were
He's
different
He's going to
standards.
ask us questions about the scientific method because he wants us to give real
I'm
answers.
more than
Here we
happy to
go.
put my science degree on show. How about you, F. Evangelist?
I
I'm
reject
happy
No, I
to
don't
your
have a
my
science
appeal to
degree.
authority.
credentials.
Definitely don't have one.
Yeah, that's
I reject
I
your
don't have a
appeal to
science degree.
authority.
Yeah, that's very obvious.
I do not recognize the authority that you're appealing to, and that doesn't do us
You
any
don't
good.
recognize
I could appeal
anything,
to
mate.
any
So
authority
you
on
can
the
just sit
internet
in
if
a
I wanted
room-
to,
You can sit
but
in
you
a
would
white
reject
room
it.
with no windows and live your life as much as you like.
Absolutely.
Oh, please,
Go
please,
ahead.
please, above everything else, understand my life is excellent.
Oh, here I have a good question. Rational Aussie, are you married?
No, I'm not married.
Do you have any children?
No children.
Okay, so you assessed like my quality of life based on your standards. I can assess your quality of life based on my standards. So we clearly have different standards. I would assess your quality of life as miserable. You're going to die a lonely
Yep.
person who doesn't have anyone around them to make him happy. See, we
Exactly.
clearly have
Self-centered.
different
You
standards
don't
of the
know
quality
that.
of life. I don't feel the need to cling to a map to be happy. I'd rather have my wife and kids.
You don't know that.
I
You don't know
Absolutely.
any of that.
I literally have a picture of my partner in my profile picture.
Okay,
Yeah,
So,
and
but you're not. You said
yeah.
you're not married and you don't have children. So I would assess your
well,
life
so
as
people
miserable.
need to be married to you. So you need to be
That's
married
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
happy. That's an
Ah,
interesting premise.
You don't have to be married to be happy. So you have a different standard than I
That's
do.
the premise.
You should
that's the
accept
premise
that.
You just that's what you just posited.
Yes, exactly.
So you
So we
think
clearly
people
have a
need to
different
be
standard
married
of
to be
how
happy?
quality of life is determined. You determine it apparently by something to do with clinging to a map or a certain model or whatever that is. I would measure it in how you do actual real things like forming relationships, raising children, getting married, things like that.
He's got a relationship.
Rational
What was
Aussie, it sounds like you're putting on everybody that we have to adhere to your benchmarks and your standard of measurement of pretty much everything.
No, the point
You
is
don't
that you
have to
reject.
adhere
The
to
point is,
anything.
the point is you reject
But if you want to have a
science.
reasonable, rational discussion on things, there needs to be
Your
there needs
science,
to be
yeah.
a common ground
Absolutely.
from which to start.
We have no problem
If you
doing
don't
that.
have a common ground from which to start, it's very difficult to have a rational intellectual conversation on things, which is why in the academic community, you generally start with, okay, what do we understand to be true, and go from there. If you reject everything you haven't personally verified, you can't have an intellectual discussion on anything.
Yes, you can. You can start with the things that you have verified. That's where you would start.
You don't even trust.
You're just not willing to
scientific
take the
equipment.
standard
You don't
back
trust,
far
you don't
enough
trust
because you
measurements
consider
from
it
anything you
a
haven't
regression.
physically built yourself.
What was that?
You've said in the same breath that you don't trust any scientific measurement equipment, anything made by man.
Let me give you a very basic example. I'm driving along.
If I agree with somebody else, like you just said, if we agree, then I will accept it. If I and the other person agree on that standard, then I will accept it as accurate or true or reasonable or good for what we're trying to accomplish together. If he rejects that, then we can't use that. If I reject it, then we can't use it. Instead, we have to move to something else that we can agree on. Like you just said, we have to agree on a standard. That's a point I've been trying to make. If I don't
verify
standard, though, you don't have the right to say, well, this is the standard, agree with it, or else. Nobody has that right. That's not how it works.
So
if you want to convince someone,
how
you've got to
do
agree
you
on a standard.
verify scientific equipment? I'm asking you, how do you verify the veracity of scientific equipment?
Let me give you a quick example.
Scientific
I'm
equipment.
not asking you. I'm asking the real Bob Dole. How do you verify the veracity of scientific equipment? That's my question to you.
I don't verify.
Okay, so you reject all scientific equipment. Therefore, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to have a discussion with anything based in science.
False. Because
so how do you verify the accuracy of scientific equipment?
It's not the standard for actual science. You assume that it is, but it isn't. I do not need any equipment to do science. I can walk outside my house and do science without any scientific equipment, quote unquote, from anybody else. I don't need it.
Okay, give me an example of a scientific experiment that you can do without any sort of measurement equipment.
What was that?
Give me an example of a scientific experiment you can do without the use of any sort of measurement.
Now you're
boiling
labeling
water.
something else. You're saying measurement, and you're replacing scientific equipment with measurement. You can do
Okay,
a
give me an
scientific.
example of a scientific experiment you can do without measuring something.
Boiling
You
water.
don't have to do it without measuring
But a
something.
measurement,
How do you know the
a
water's
measurement's
boiling?
not using scientific.
There's a phase. There's an
It's just a measurement.
observable phase change.
At what temperature?
How do you verify that phase
Temperature's
change is
irrelevant. Temperature's irrelevant.
boiling?
There is a
What,
water?
phase
Okay,
change in water.
High
You don't need to know the temperature
at
to
high
know it's
altitude.
boiling. That would be
Yeah.
dumb to think that you do. You can look at the water
Okay,
and
have
see
you
that it's
tried to
boiling with
boil-
your senses.
Tried to boil water under pressure?
What was that?
It's irrelevant.
Have you tried
Water
to use
boils.
water under pressure?
Water boils.
But we
It doesn't
live
matter.
in
It doesn't
Australia,
matter.
so it doesn't matter what
We're
it does.
talking about walking outside, not putting anything under pressure. You said, give me an example of something. Like he said, I can walk outside and do science. And there's your example of how you can do it.
How is that science? How is
Where's
boiling
the
water
dependent
science?
variable and independent variable
That's
of boiling
exactly the
water?
question, isn't it?
What's the
How is
independent
that
variable?
science? You guys
What's-
don't seem to comprehend what
What's the
actual science
independent
is.
variable?
Science is just trying to find out the answer to something using verifiable, credible, repeatable evidence.
But you don't
Okay, so
accept
what's the
any
question
scientific
in your boiling
measurements.
water experiment? What is the question?
The question would
Are
be,
you
what
getting the
happens
answer?
whenever I heat up water?
Okay, so what are you trying to? Okay, so what happens when you heat up water?
It boils.
Okay, how do you measure that?
I don't need to measure it. I heated it up. It boiled. Experiment
How
over.
do you-
Cool. I found out water boils. I don't need to have a purpose in mind. I don't need to have a plan for what I'm going to do with that technology or anything. I can just wonder what happens when I apply heat to water and find out what happens, and that is science. That is literally science.
That is very useful experiment for cavemen.
It doesn't
National
matter
Aussie,
what
one-
your opinion
one-
on the usefulness of it is.
We're seeing the flat Earth level of science here, and I mean it's very, very telling, isn't it?
Rational, let me give you one
We
example.
actually
Hang on,
expect
hang on.
science to follow the scientific method, yeah.
Oh, here's
Yeah.
Mother of the Year chirping in.
Did you just attempt
Let me
to
give
Considering
you
I'm
insult
cooking
one
my son breakfast, yeah, I
example.
would call me
What?
Mother of the Year, actually.
How is that an
Yeah,
insult?
Yeah, Mother of the
Being a
Year
mother.
spends 5 hours of each day
Yeah,
screaming at a
at least I
computer.
don't tell
Yeah.
my mother that I disown her and then come to the son.
Do you,
Mother
Anyway.
of the Year.
have some sort of
Rational Aussie.
with your mother?
No. Paige just spends 5 or 6 hours screaming at a computer each day and then claims that she's a good mother. Well, we have different opinions on that, I guess.
I never
fuck
claimed
is
I
wrong
was a
with
good
you?
mother. You told me I wasn't one. And I said, well, I'm standing
No,
here
that
cooking my
wasn't me,
son
mate. You're
breakfast,
getting
so I
mixed
don't
up.
know
You're
how that's
Anyway,
not being a good
This
mother.
is
But anyway.
gonna escalate into
Got a poor
something.
memory,
That's
Paige.
Aren't children
Rational
normally in
Aussie.
school for like 8 hours
you
a
hear
day?
me?
I've got
That gives her
you,
2 extra hours
Someone-
after she's done yelling at the computer before she has to do anything with her children
I need-
before they get home.
I want to give you an example, mate.
Go for it.
Can you hear me? Just
Gotcha, go for it.
okay. Excellent. Now, I was just driving along in my vehicle, and my speedometer was registering 60 kilometers an hour. I've got my GPS on my phone. It's telling me I'm doing 52 kilometers an hour. Which one is right? They're both in your world. They're scientific. I should trust the veracity of which one. My speedometer.
Literally
This
just use two scientific measurement tools.
But what I'm saying, you're saying, oh, if you don't trust anything, which one am I going to trust? Which one's going to stop me from getting a speeding fine? The GPS or Mazda, the Mazda creator of my speedometer? And this is why I say I don't
A
trust
little bit of research.
blindly. I don't blindly trust things that are presented to me as accurate or scientific if I can't verify it.
A little bit of research, you'll find out very quickly that speedometers read over intentionally to avoid litigation from car companies. Happens in almost every
drivers.
commercial vehicle and personal
Well,
vehicle.
that's an avoidance
Speedometers,
of the
unless
actual
they've been
question.
calibrated to be exact, actually almost universally read slightly over to avoid litigation from car companies for their speedometers causing people to get speeding tickets.
But what about the diameter of my tyre? What if I put a different tyres on my car? Which one do I trust?
And if you look
Well,
at your
that's why the speedometer
car's
is
user
inaccurate
manual,
too.
you'll actually, if you look at your car's user manual, it'll state clearly that changing the diameter of your tyres affects your speedometer, which you need to get calibrated. Once again, tiny amount of research, little bit of knowledge, you'll learn a lot.
Same with bicycles, like the bicycle tachometer. Same deal.
Here's the point. My point. You're missing the point.
GPS.
The point is, I don't give a rat's ass about my speedometer. The point is,
You've just proved my point.
no, I have no, not at all. The map. How would anybody verify the map?
Prove that we can
You've just explained how I can.
Other tools using other tools. So what you do is you get a number of different instruments to calibrate your instruments. That's how you do it. You take.
How would I verify the distance from Perth to Cape Town? How would I, sitting here, jump on a plane?
Turn your GPS on, turn on the distance tracking over time, and then
Gotcha. I'm with you. I'm already ahead of you. That's fine. No, don't have to chew it up for me. That's okay. So then I have to do what? I have to trust the GPS. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do I verify the accuracy of the GPS?
You can show that it's trustworthy.
You pick a distance between 2 points at home. Back in Perth, you say, I know the distance from this point to that point. Then you drive it with your GPS on and you test the veracity. There might be a small percentage of error, but guess what? When you're dealing with thousands of kilometers, a small percentage of error isn't that bad because you can account for that in your experiment.
So my GPS, so what you're telling me is my GPS will work all the way from Perth to Cape Town, will it? It'll work. I can track it the whole way.
If you're sitting by a window, yes.
It will track it. Okay, so why is it that Plane Tracker doesn't track planes that go out across the ocean then?
Because it's the internal mechanisms within the plane, the transponders that drop out, that they often use to track those planes.
So they don't put GPS, right, because the Boeing haven't caught up with having GPS technology on their latest aircraft, is that right?
Are you talking about on the aircraft, or are you talking about the tracking that you can do online? Because they're two separate things. I don't know if you realise there's a difference, but
the information for the tracker, where does that come from?
Is different. The tracker comes from a transponder. Do you know anything about aviation at all?
No, they don't.
No, not a hell of a lot. That's why I'm asking questions.
No, that's obvious.
Very little.
There are things.
No, but that's why I'm asking questions to try and verify things. You condescending twat.
I'm giving you.
You're not allowed to ask questions or not know something. You should just know everything inherently.
I just know everything. That's right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll get treated like an absolute cunt.
And plane getting shot down by foreign military. So it sends out a squawk. It sends out a signal that tells any tracking station within range that, hi, I'm in a civilian aircraft, this is my transponder code, and this is what I'm doing, this is how fast I'm going, this is where I am. That's what the transponder does. On the actual aircraft, you've got ground speed meters, you've got airspeed meters, you've got GPS, you've got a whole bunch of really high-tech tools, but those don't report back. Because when you're right out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or you're right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, there's no tracking stations that pick up that data and relay it. So there are periods when those
GPS would pick it up, surely. Can't they track it with GPS? Surely.
No, GPS is a passive. Okay, once again, you don't understand how GPS works. GPS is a passive device. You pick up a signal sent from the satellites. You don't send a signal back to the satellites when you use your GPS. That's not how GPS works. Once again, a little bit of research, a little bit of understanding goes a long way.
You're not listening. So an aeroplane takes off from Perth. It has a GPS mechanism, I assume, on board. So as it's travelling across the ocean, what you're saying is that GPS is dormant. It's not doing anything. It's not actually
it receives a signal. It doesn't send a signal. GPS works by receiving signals, not by sending signals. Do you understand?
So there's no return signals, but there is from my phone, but there's not from an aeroplane.
Yes, because a phone uses a mobile phone tower. Your phone doesn't send a signal to satellites. Your phone sends a signal to mobile phone towers. There's a difference. Once again, just a little bit of understanding how the GPS system works goes a long way. Madly Googling this as we speak, no doubt.
I'm sitting in a Woolworths car park at the moment, looking at my windscreen. So stop being a dickhead. All right, I'm having a conversation with you.
What did I just say to you? I just said I was condescending before.
You're a fuckwit. See you, mate.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, he's a bit of a fuckwit.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, go on. Good. How about you guys spend some time with your kids, Paige? Well, I think that about sums it up. Flat Earth